Hey everybody, welcome back to the Nerdfellas show. We have a very special guest with us today, Carla Berkowitz. She's a producer of Critical Thinking, the directorial debut of John Leguizamo. He's also starring in the film. And I got to chat with her for a couple of minutes. So let's check it out.
We got our own hot streak here in Miami. It's gonna hit 95.
We ain't got no milk.
Ain't getting none neither.
Hey, yo! Yo! Now, people, this is gonna be very basic for some of you. What you've got is 64 squares, 32 pieces. It doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, what Ivy League school you may go, may not go to, because chess is the great equalizer.
But thank you so much for...
Oh, it's my pleasure. I'm so excited. Anytime I can talk about the good that came out of this, I'm in.
Oh, absolutely. And, so I just watched the film last week, and I loved it. Like, I thought
Thank you.
So good. To me, it felt like it's something that you don't see in movies anymore. It's like an uplifting story. It's very inspirational. To me, it actually reminded me of a 90s film, even though I know this takes place in the 90s.
No, but it's very vintage, and we kept it that way on purpose, including the colors and everything was very vintage 90s. And even the poster, like this poster, it's just very vintage. And I'm so glad you said that, because we made sure that every detail was very 90s, because if you change stuff around it, where do you stop then?
Oh yeah. No, I loved it. One thing that I've read about is that it took over 20 years for this film to get made, and it's weird because it feels like this movie should have come out a long time ago, because it's such an important story. How was that whole process? I mean, was that I'm sure it was frustrating at some point.
So what happened was, in 1998, I woke up on a Sunday morning and I read the Miami Herald that had a magazine, a print magazine, like the New York Times magazine, called Tropic magazine. And on the cover was this boy from the DR with dreadlocks and holding a chess piece, a king. And the article was called Kings in the Hood.
Okay.
And I looked at the picture, and without even reading the article, I was like, my brain did this quantum shift about who plays chess. Mm-hmm. It was like, what? What is this? So I hardly even read the article. I knew what I wanted to do even without reading the article, but I had to read parts of it so I would know who to contact. And immediately, and I just contacted the coach, Mario Martinez, who is the character that is played by John Leguizamo, and he still taught, because that was a 10-year class. And it ended in 2002. And so I called him, and basically after I told him what my intentions were, those boys were still in high school. They were 15, 16, 17 years old. So I met with them all. I interviewed a bunch of them, and I chose these 5. And I only said, trust me, I'll get it done somehow. I'd never made a movie before, but I just knew that it needed to be. Not every story needs to be told, Right. There are a lot of good stories out there, but will it make you better? Will it improve your life? It's not only just return on investment, it's a return on mental, emotional investment, all that. Will it make the world any better? Will it make you better as a viewer? Would it make me better? This ticked all the boxes. And it took a very long time. And I kept asking why, because it was always funded, which is the interesting part. It wasn't the money. It was the cast of, no pun intended, the cast of characters. It was never the right mix of people for the 20 years. And then so basically it took about 18 years. And then finally, after 18 years, One of the producers that worked on it with me like 15 years earlier came back into the picture with John. And John had already done Latin history, and it was coming to an end, and he wanted to play a teacher. And he was also a ghetto nerd, as he calls himself. And so he saw himself as part of these, as like these boys were when he was young, growing up.
When I got this movie, I was like, oh my God, this is my antidote. Here I have the intellectual proof that these kids born in the ghettoest ghetto in Miami and became United States chess champions, which is, an intellectual game. This proves that BS. I called a couple days ago to register for Miami Jackson.
This is a chess tournament.
Right. Mario Martinez registering for Miami Jackson. Right there.
As an immigrant, I know how he feels because I'm from Venezuela, and I was one of those kids that didn't speak English till I was like 11 or 12, and I was beat up and bullied and all that stuff. And he was too. And he saw himself. And once he got involved, and we had a script already, by the way, I'm sorry. Dido Montiel, you know who he is, right? From A Guide to Recognizing Your Saint.
I love that film.
Me too. It's one of my favorite movies, other than my own. But he wrote the script, and he knows John, and they know each other. And once we had a script, and once we had John, then we had a landscape, and we had a timeline. And at that point, John was not going to direct it. He was just going to star in it. And one thing led to another, and he decided to direct it. Dido said, okay. And the rest is history.
Oh, this is such a great film for him to get his footing on, because
perfect.
Over the last couple of years, I've noticed that John's been expanding his horizons, almost like trying to send out a message.
Yes.
In the Latin community.
Yes. Yes.
So in the because the comedy special, the Latin history, that's a lot that you could tell that he's very passionate about trying to get our history out there, because it's been buried for so long.
Not just buried, it's been painted out,
right?
Like it says in the movie. I mean, it's been painted out. It's like we didn't exist before, whoever, a couple years ago. It's like, what happened to us,
Right.
And the people that did exist, they were repainted into heroes when they actually weren't. Right. So yes, he's extraordinarily passionate and has gotten surgically precise in what exactly he wants to say.
People of color have it everywhere since time immemorial. And if you pick up one of these bad boys and you open it up and you don't recognize yourself, I hope you realize that this was their oversight, that this was their mistake to paint you out. I wanted to show how Latin and Black kids have the potential to be so much, and yet they're robbed of it by so many circumstances.
And this movie could have been written for him, actually. Right. And that's why when he got involved, obviously because he's such a big, name and so talented with such an incredible catalog of things that he has done, this really hit home for him, and he saw himself in it. And Dido has a similar story. He's also an immigrant, and so even though they all grew up in Queens, they didn't come. They weren't born here, and so it kind of and then of course I'm an immigrant, so all of it, and then most of the boys are not American except for one. And the funny thing is, 3 of them are from the DR. 4 of them are from the DR. The high school that we filmed it in Miami, some of the actors actually went there.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
So I mean, you couldn't get more coincidental.
I love the acting in it too. I mean, you even have supporting cast like Michael K. Williams and
Rachel.
So I mean, him being that father figure and going through his little journey and through everyone's journey. I mean, that was incredible.
And that's a true story. And it's interesting because we kept to the truth so meticulously that, you know, I was enjoying watching the real boys watching themselves be portrayed. It was a real eye-opening, and I was crying. You know, it was just very emotional to see somebody see themselves being portrayed on the screen. You know, it's very, especially because I met them when they were 17, and they're almost 40.
Oh wow, yeah, that's true. So
See?
so as soon as that happened, you had already kind of seen that story, and so what exactly?
Yeah.
Because I know that you've been in video production before with fitness programs.
Right. So I basically, I was, you know, I had done about 15 internationally sold and known fitness videos. And that's when fitness videos were a thing to do, you know, starting in the early 90s. And so, you know, it's not a movie, but it's all the same process. You need an idea, you need a script, you need participants, and then you need to sell it. So what people don't understand is that anybody with money can make anything, can make a movie even, but that's where the beginning of the end and the end of the beginning kind of mixed together, because you can have a movie and then what happened to us is not even normal, because we got into South by Southwest where we could have sold the movie there, and the pandemic happened and it was canceled. And then we got into 3 other festivals, none of which we could go to, except the one that I'm going to Friday, which is the New York Latino Film Festival, which I'm so excited that it's the only one of 4 festivals that we got into that we could actually go to. So I'm flying to New York to do that. But yeah, it was, so I did the fitness videos, and it's all the same. You have to sell it and you have to get it out there. And so I had the experience of getting, you know, the ideas to market, because ideas are everywhere. And so this was just a bigger, you know, financial and time obligation. But other than that, it really prepared me to make this stand out, because everybody and their uncle were doing fitness videos in the 90s, and mine stood out and this stood out. So yes, I'd never made a movie before, but I was able to just give it a life cycle because of everybody involved. So
that's great. And so I know with this pandemic, I mean, I'm sure you never foresaw, you know, this whole thing happening. You wanted it to go directly to theaters. And I'm sure it did play in a couple of theaters though, right?
I saw it for the first time in a theater 2 weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like, it was crazy because, you know, I was part of the whole post and the sound design and everything else. And it was like, I was crying because I saw the sound design I was part of that I never heard on a TV, you know, on surround sound. And I saw the colors that we did, that we incorporated all this amazing thing in all these things. And I'm sorry in a way that not a lot of people are going to be able to see it in theaters. One day when this is all over, hopefully we can then have maybe a relaunch of it, so that people can actually see it the way it needs to be seen.
I would love to see it in a theater for sure.
Yeah, it was a completely different experience for me. I felt like I was seeing it for the first time. So
I can imagine.
But, you know, you have to just pivot, you know, and you can't feel sorry for yourself, and you can't feel sorry. I didn't have a chance to get sad, or I didn't have a chance to panic. I just simply just said, okay, this is like a bad movie. Like, you wait 20 years, then there's this virus that attacks. It's almost like The Blob, you know, the movie of like the 70s. It's like, what? Wait, no. This is not happening. So it's like, I said to everybody involved, you know, all these distributors and studios all have it in their calendars that they're going to see it March 13th, Saturday in Austin. Just send everybody a screener. Regardless, they have it in their calendars, and we did, and it worked.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And I love that. And so, with this whole experience that you've gone through, is that your new passion, like to create more films, or was this like, oh, like, okay, like this is the one thing I wanted to do and I'm done, or
No, I'm definitely not done.
Oh, that's great. Oh yeah,
I'm not done. I just don't know if I can let go of this project.
Oh,
because
right.
there are 9 more years of kids that are as spectacular and even more.
Oh, wow.
And so I either want to do like a part 2, or I would even consider doing like a TV, like a spin-off of every graduating class. As it was a 10-year program.
Right,
so there's 9 more years of kids that, and it doesn't even have to be written. It's already written. It just has to be listened and seen, because it happened. So I would definitely consider doing that. Or, I mean, I have other projects that during these 20 years that I wanted to do, and I kept saying, when this is over, I'm going to do this movie and that movie. But this has gotten under my skin because it's about real people. And I saw what it did to these people and how it changed them, the real people, how they just couldn't believe it. And it's addicting in a way, and satisfying that I was able to change lives exponentially.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
So I don't know if I want to give this up yet, but I definitely want to continue with it, in the media for sure.
I think it definitely would definitely lend itself really well to a series for sure.
I agree. Like in the 80s, there was the movie Fame, because it was about New York theater, the School of Performing Arts, and then there was a TV show. Well, it's very similar. They had graduating classes of kids that kept winning the national championships. And like I said, it's already been told. So if I could do that, I'd be happy.
That would be great.
Yeah.
So is that, right now you said you're kind of stuck with this, and I understand that feeling, because anytime I've ever worked on a film or like a short film or anything, I always have to go back. I'm like, oh, well, I could have done this, or like I want to tweak it or do something to it. But once you get through that, would that be your next focus? Is the show, or would it be something different?
I don't think that I want to tweak anything different I wouldn't have done anything different in the film, but I would like to tell the stories of these other guys and girls that are just as extraordinary as these guys were, because these guys and girls had no way out. They had no way out. I mean, chess is literally got them out of the hood. And I know that that's not a word we use nowadays, but it was a word there then. And this is what got them out. And so I feel like it's not like I'm stuck on the movie wanting to change anything. I just feel like I need to tell more of their stories. Yeah. And I feel like the world needs, it's what the world needs now. Mm-hmm. These are the stories that the world needs to hear. There's so much TV out there, but I keep, going and trying to find something to watch. And there's I can't find anything I like. It's nothing that resonates. There's a few great things, but, and I feel like this is so true to what's happening now. And also using your brain, as your weapon. That's important, to know that no one's better than you ever, no matter what. I don't care who you are or how much money. If you can't beat me on a chessboard, you're not better than me. And so I feel like it's important, and I feel like I don't want to let go right now.
Oh no, I absolutely, understand. And I loved actually those scenes in the film where you're kind of going through some moves, and then later on you see them implement those, and not just in the chess game, but in life. it was,
That's such a good question.
it's so cool because the whole film feels like a chess match where you're starting off kind of learning, and then just everything's just so strategically.
It was done that way.
Yeah.
So the games that we played on screen were the exact games that the boys played throughout their life.
Oh, wow.
So they were there on set as consultants to make sure that not only they didn't do a wrong move, but they did the exact games they played, because it was all written down by the coach and by each other. So what you see there is what exactly happened, even the last game, without spoiling it for anyone that
No.
Right.
That was such an intense scene because you don't know what's gonna happen. So yeah, I'm not gonna spoil anything because that was.
Don't spoil it. And I know what happens, and I still can't breathe every time I watch it. I mean, it's almost like
me and my friend were watching, and we're just like, "Oh, what?
I know."
And then
I know. It's crazy.
I loved it. Yeah.
But it is a metaphor for their life. I mean, you make a decision.
Yeah.
And you don't know what you're going to do. 4 minutes, 4 hours, 10 moves, an hour, 10 years. I mean, it is a metaphor for life. It is a metaphor. You have to think ahead, and you have to not just think ahead on the chessboard, but you have to think about what the person's going to do when you do it,
right?
What you're going to do. And so that gave them the power to see their future.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why they were able to get out of there.
Mm-hmm. And I'll be honest, I've never really been into chess ever. This film honestly makes me want to go buy a really
Everybody says that. Everybody says that.
It is a thinking man's game. It's I love the title too, because that's exactly what it is. Critical thinking. You have to maneuver everything around, and that's such a great movie. I loved it, and it was such a breath of fresh air, because nowadays you don't really get films like this anymore. And for me, it was like, oh, I loved it because it's so different from everything that's coming out now.
Thank you. And that's what we wanted. It's not a superhero movie.
Oh, yeah.
But every one of those boys has a talent like a superhero.
Exactly.
In their mind. They are all different superheroes in their minds. I mean, not in their minds, through their minds, because of their minds. And so we wanted to make sure that it looked indie, because it was, but it looked like an expensive movie, but yet it still stayed vintage, like you saw it and like it portrayed to you. And you're right, there is not a lot of those Stand and Deliver, To Sir with Love, Dangerous Minds. That's what we wanted. And I think we were like the heir to all of those. We stood on the shoulders of those amazing films, which really were my inspiration for this film.
That's actually a great movie. Like the fact that, because that's one of the first things that came to my mind was like Stand and Deliver. Watching it, because I remember
with Edward James Olmos,
Jaime Escalante, all these kids, and like he really believed in them. Like nobody else would, and that's what's portrayed in this film too.
Yes,
where everyone's just like, yeah, whatever. You're just, you're in trouble with the law. What did you do? Exactly.
It's not like that with this movie. And in real life, the coach was exactly like you see John portray. And apart from that, thank you for noticing, but apart from that, me, like, who am I to these boys? Like I told you, they kept asking me, like, why would a woman like you care about kids like us?
Right.
Like, and I still don't have an answer, but nobody else did.
Right.
And nobody else does, ever. Like, who cares? And I did, and I don't know why, but I did. And I saw something in them that maybe I felt also, but I saw something in them that made me realize that, like John says, it doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, or what school you're going to go to, but it's that this is the great equalizer, and you can do this, you can do anything. I mean, your mind is your weapon.
Oh yeah.
To use in a good way.
This was such a, I loved this film just for even just those reasons, just how, because everyone does look at, Hispanics or Latin people a certain way. They have like almost like a stigma to
Oh
us,
yeah.
And we're so much more, we have like these beautiful cultures, and we implement those into American culture, and people are afraid of change and things like that. And that's what I love, that these kids can just go into, I don't know how diverse the chess world is. Because
like I said, when I saw the picture in the magazine, I said I had a quantum shift in my brain as to who plays chess. I mean, I thought it was, these kids from these very wealthy prep schools in the Northeast who, pretty much invented the game, and it's not anymore. I mean, I think this movie, actually, it's not so much the movie, but the actual real kids and the program from 1998 really changed everything. And they got to know, the world started finding out about Miami Jackson's chess team, and they were considered dangerous players. That was their dangerous players. And so we almost called the movie Dangerous Players, but it was, well, I'm glad we called it Critical Thinking. But yes, there is so much more to these boys. The personalities are so rich in history, steeped in so many different cultures. And you were right when you said that how they played chess is like their personalities.
Oh yeah.
And it's true. It's true. Each of them embodies, the personality of how they play on the board. Some of, like Marcel, the guy who Jeffrey Batista portrays, he plays with his eyes closed, like 10 moves with 10 boards behind him.
Right. The poster that you have right there, that scene, it was
there it is. Yeah, exactly.
That was so intense. I was like shocked, because I'm sure it's real, because
Oh, it's real. I have it on our Instagram side by side, where you could see the real one and
that's amazing.
The fake one. Yeah, not fake, but the faux one.
Right.
Yeah, he plays with he literally has that kind of mind. He's a very gentle guy, but when you're on a chessboard, he's a beast.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I mean, who does that? I mean, it's like you have to really talk about seeing the future.
Oh yeah. No, it was incredible. I mean, this film really, like I said, inspired me to want to.
Thank you. I'm so glad.
And
I'm really glad.
I want more people to see this, because I know that now everything's just kind of going to streaming and digital, and I feel like some people might overlook things, and this is one that I feel like more and more people need to see, especially the Hispanic community.
Yes, absolutely, because they themselves need to see how amazing they are.
Exactly.
It's not just that other people need to look in the window, but you need to look around you and see how special you are and what you have to contribute to the world. And if you're told every day for generations that you're just part of a neighborhood and you're going to be nothing when you grow up because you don't have the money to do this or the resources or whatever, you start believing it. It becomes part of your DNA. You got to snap out of it, and you got to and that's why I feel like I can't let go of this project, because nobody believed in these guys. Nobody paid any attention to anything that any of these boys ever did in their life. Why would they? They grew up in a neighborhood called Liberty City in Miami, where it's kind of like, I guess, equivalent to like a Compton or Harlem back in the 70s, when it was terrible. And now, thank God, it's not anymore. We couldn't even actually film in the real school because it looks like Harvard. We have to find another school.
Right.
But you have to, I mean, it becomes part of your DNA. You need to snap out of it and realize how much you have to offer, yourself. So
I mean, yeah. And with that note, I want to just thank you for pushing so hard, because I think other people probably would have just given up after a couple of
Oh
years.
yeah, and they did.
Yeah.
They did. I had a lot of partners who just they weren't. I saw the big picture, and I knew it was going to be made. And I really believe. I know this sounds crazy. Just to end it, I believe that it was marinating. And then John came in, and he was like, the last piece that we needed, and then and ditto. And once the two of them got together, and it brought it to life. But I think it needed to wait until the right person that felt the exact same thing that these boys did to be able to make it anyway believable. And I think we did that. Thank you for noticing.
Of course. Yes. No, thank you for making such a great film.
I'm so thrilled. Makes me happy.
Oh yeah, because their story does need to be told, and I'm so excited to see what you do next.
Thank you.
I hope I am really rooting to see like another movie, whatever.
Yeah, or just a series. Yes, I promise you'll be the first interview I give. I promise you. I say it on camera.
All right.
The first interview is with you.
So much. I appreciate
Thank you.
And thank you for your time. I mean, I know you're probably a busy woman doing a lot.
No, it's okay. I always have time for somebody that can appreciate all the work that went into this. So I'm never busy for this. Thank you.
Thank you. And so I hope you have a great day. And,
thank you.
And I'll just let my viewers know to please go and check out Critical Thinking. It's such a great film.
Thank you.
Such a breath of fresh air, and I know you're gonna love it. So thank you.
Thank you. Check it out, everyone.